Hey there, Gemini. Welcome to your reading for the week of August 15th. We're just going to jump right in here, Gemini, and we are going to see what is going on for you at this time. Gemini, something needs more passion in your life, clearly, here, and maybe that's why you're not getting started on something. We see that right here, right away. In the reading, I'm actually going to take both of these cards right here. But actually, you know what I'm noticing is that your reading, well, maybe I spoke too soon, but your reading is the first reading I've done that has multiple golden or yellow cards in it. This week, I've noticed that pretty much everyone has all blue cards, you know? Just interesting to me. Sometimes some people consider the blue cards to be maybe a little bit more of like a background energy where you're more withdrawn from the week, or, you know, some people consider it to be negative. I don't really consider it to be negative because not all blue cards are negative. But, you know, it's definitely something to pay attention to here, especially, you know, kind of in this diagonal. I feel this is very much your imagination and your mindset. So there's a difference between like how you feel about things or how you see things in your head and the action that needs to be taken is what I'm feeling here. You have the Four of Wands. It's like something is ready to be completed. That's the words that I'm getting with the Four of Wands. Four of Wands is a card of marriage, of course. And there could be love, but I don't really see this as a love reading. And what I would say here is that this is more of freedom. The Four of Wands represents freedom. You have the Knight of Wands as your outcome card, which is also a card of freedom. So I feel for a lot of you that you want the freedom to create something, or you've been thinking about creating something for maybe the past few months or maybe even years with this reading, I would say. Your crossing energy is the Ace of Wands. It's kind of interesting because, you know, not to toot my own horn here, but I am a Gemini moon, and I feel this a lot. You know, I have this problem, and I actually just realized it in your reading. The Ace of Wands is like coming up with an idea, crossing, especially something like the Four of Wands, where it's like you want to accomplish something and you think it's a good idea, but kind of getting moving and developing the passion for it before you get started might be a little bit of a challenge for you at this time. Because there could just be things. And I feel like you understand what I'm saying by saying things. You know, it's like I have been thinking about starting a podcast, which I'm actually finally starting because I forced myself to do it. But it's like I'm passionate about it. I want to do it, but it's not like a deep burning desire. And I think usually we do better with things that are kind of like more deep burning desires. But I feel this reading is saying, how can you develop a deep burning desire for something that you want to create? What part of it gives you the feels? What part of it makes you feel all tingly, right? That's what this reading is asking you. And I feel it's a pretty simple reading, but that's really what I'm getting here. It's like, what part of something that you want to do makes you feel that you want to do it, makes you kind of burn on the inside, right? Next, you have the Knight of Pentacles in the area of your thoughts, not getting started. So again, Knight of Pentacles is like kind of like playing it safe. He also has all the knowledge and wisdom he needs to get started. He has oak leaves on his head here, oak leaves on the horse. The oak leaves in the tarot represent knowledge and wisdom. He has these empty fields behind him, and he's got the seeds right here. So all he has to do is go plant those seeds. He just has to get started. And I feel that for a lot of you. And for some of you, maybe you're developing, you know, passion, or you will develop passion, right? It kind of reminds me of, I think everybody thinks, oh, like, oh, they're going to meet a person, they fall in love. But it's like, I just read this thing where they studied a bunch of relationships, a bunch of successful ones. And most of these successful ones, they did not fall in love on the first date. So the whole love at first sight is basically BS. A lot of these relationships, it's like one person or the other, or both of them were like, oh, I'll just give this person a second chance. And then they fell in love. So sometimes I think we just need to get started, right? We just need to have the experience before we can actually get the result. And I don't know, I think it's like Disney and movies, especially in love, that have made it seem like, oh, you're going to meet this person and fall in love, where usually that actually develops over time. So, you know, I kind of feel that in love. But for the most part, in business, or if you're starting something creative, because I feel like a lot of you want to do something creative. Obviously, Ace of Wands, you want a creative new beginning or a passionate new beginning. Knight of Wands, desire. But I feel you need to get started to find out what you desire in the first place. You have the Page of Cups here. The Page of Cups is showing up in the area of your foundation. So your vision is correct. He's looking at that fish. It kind of says this is your imagination. the Page of Cups. He is imagining that fish in the cup there, and he is imagining kind of like what he wants to create, or how he wants things to be created, and he could be imagining a million different things looking at that fish. And I feel that for you. I feel like you're kind of like imagining things. We even going this direction, Page of Cups, Six of Swords to the Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups, he's imagining all those cups in front of him. So you have a lot of imagining going on in your head. I feel like you're imagining something that you want to create. In the past, you have the Eight of Pentacles. I feel like you've laid a solid groundwork. I feel like you have a lot of skills. Talents give skills and abilities. You clearly have developed the knowledge to do something. So maybe some confidence would be very beneficial for you with this Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles is kind of like the apprentice, but the rest of the reading is pretty much saying to me that you need to just get started, that you need to just get moving. In the near future, you have the Six of Swords. Six of Swords is moving on to calmer shores. It is a card of improvement, of course. It's also the card of leaving something behind. This mother and child, they're leaving everything behind. They're kind of moving on to the other side in hopes of a brighter future. And it doesn't really represent a sacrifice, but when you think about it, if you were to leave everything behind, you would be making a sacrifice. But I do feel some of you are kind of moving on to calmer shores. You're moving towards improvements. Over the next few months, you have the Seven of Swords. Everybody's been getting this. Seven of Swords is about doing things in a different way. He is going to war with an army that's in the background here. Of course, it's not going to focus, right? Because I'm trying to make a point here, Gemini. But there's an army in the background of the card right here, and he's stealing those swords from the army so that they can't be used against him in battle. And so it's kind of like he's going to war, but just in a different way. And I feel that for a lot of you, where it's saying you need to look at how you can attack things, not literally, but figuratively, in a different way. If you're starting a creative project and you're bumping up against obstacles, what can you do? It's kind of interesting that you have the Knight of Wands, because everybody's been getting it this month, and I really feel the Knight of Wands is a solution. The Knight of Wands is about being spontaneous, being open to the different ways of doing things in life. Next, you have the Hangman and the Two of Wands. This is showing up in the area of your closest relationships. I do feel there could be a slowdown in relationships, but is this a bad thing? I don't know. Why does this refuse today? I have no clue what's going on. But anyway, I feel for some of you that there could be a little bit of a slowdown in your closest relationships with the Knight of Wands. But with the Hangman. The Hangman is kind of like about putting yourself in Hangman mode so you can gain enlightenment. Sometimes I feel we do need to maybe withdraw from socializing if people are taking too much of our energy so that we can think, basically. And that's what I feel you could be doing here. The Two of Wands, you could also be looking for growth, and I do feel that. The Two of Wands can say that maybe there are some people in your friend group who are just not changing, who are just not growing, who aren't getting anywhere. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. And it doesn't mean you're going to be cutting them out of your life. I just feel you could be looking to surround yourself with people who are going to make you grow, who are going to make you push yourself, who are going to make you do bigger and better things. And again, I'm not saying you're cutting anyone out here. I just think you could be surrounding yourself with new people, and that's perfectly fine as well. In the area of your future feelings, you have the Seven of Cups. Now that I have the Seven of Cups in my hand, I actually kind of like this for you. It's a card of being spoiled for choice, the Seven of Cups, Gemini. And I don't even know why I try. It is a card of being spoiled for choice. So I feel you have a lot of options. And I also feel you have a lot of options, especially with that Seven of Swords, kind of going from thinking there's maybe only one way of doing things to coming up with millions of ways of doing something like a creative project or something else that you want to accomplish. And in your outcome, you have the Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands is a card of spontaneousness, so it does encourage you to be spontaneous, to open up to all different ways of doing things, but it's also a card of going on an adventure, and I feel that a lot of you could kind of be going on a pretty big adventure here with that Knight of Wands energy. So we are going to clarify this here, Gemini, and we are going to see what's going on for you. With that Four of Wands and the Ace of Wands, you have the Five of Wands, conflicted about whether or not you should get started. I feel like you just need to get started on something. That's really what this is. It's like if you've been thinking about starting a YouTube channel, a podcast, I think you have to get started to develop the passion. But it's like getting that, fire started is kind of the challenge. And that seems to be the challenge for everybody right now. You're not the only one. So Five of Wands just says go on the adventure. Five of Wands is my card I call Indiana Jones. To me, it represents going on some sort of crazy adventure to get a result, and, that's what I see there. With the Knight of Pentacles, you have the Two of Wands. You do have the Two of Wands twice. The Two of Wands is about thinking that you have experienced everything that there is to experience. Again, the Knight of Pentacles, he's being too, kind of cautious. He's playing it safe. He's not getting started. And maybe it's because you think you know how something is going to turn out. The Two of Wands says, no, he's looking out at the world. He's saying to himself, this is all I have, but he has the whole world in his hands. So he needs to realize that there are other experiences that he could have. So if something is stopping you because you've done it in the past or you're afraid of repeating an experience that was negative, I feel like you need to realize that there are other ways that things can go for you with that Two of Wands. With the Page of Cups, you have the Ace of Wands. So a lot of passion developing here. I feel like maybe you could be using your passion, you could be using your imagination to develop passion as well. And what I mean by that is that if you're starting a project, you could be thinking about the project and thinking like about how passionate you are about the project. Then you're kind of creating more passion, right? Doing that, I feel, would be very beneficial. I also feel that you need to realize that things don't have to be done a certain way, And here's what I mean by this. Like, the energy I'm getting here is a lot of people think, oh, my YouTube channel that I'm starting has to be like all these other YouTube channels. But what if there are things that you don't want to do, right? I was thinking about talking about the podcast. There are some podcasts where they start off with an intro. I don't really particularly like podcast intros personally, so I'm going to be starting my podcast with no intro. I just want to jump right in. That's my thing, right? And who says that you have to have an intro, right? Who came up with that rule? And I feel that for you here. I'm not saying you're starting a podcast, but whatever you're starting, there might be certain rules that are kind of removing the passion from what you want to get started. So just do it the way you want to do it. Don't be afraid to be a rebel. Here is what this reading is saying to me, Gemini. Don't be afraid to go against the grain. You never know. Those people are usually the ones that are the most successful. With the Six of Swords, you have the Seven of Swords again. Seven of Swords, again, can be lying, cheating, stealing. He has polka dots on his cloak, though, and the polka dots in the cloak in the tarot represent needing to not take things too seriously. And pretty much every single person I've read for has had this. So, I think it's a good time to be more playful, to not get stuck doing things a certain way, and to not take things too seriously. With the Seven of Swords, you have the Knight of Wands. There you go. Knight of Wands, same thing. Knight of Wands about being spontaneous, looking for multiple ways of doing things. He's kind of like the builder. He's willing to build things up in his life. He's willing to, pretty much create anything, whatever he's creating, and in any way possible. He doesn't get stuck thinking, oh, I have to do it this way or this way. Like I said, he's not afraid to be a rebel. Pretty simple reading. I feel like that's what this reading is saying. With the Hangman and the Two of Wands, you have the Ten of Swords. Something is dead, done over with. Probably the old way of doing things. I would say with that Ten of Swords. For some of you, I would definitely be careful if you have friendships that are kind of like getting on your nerves. If you don't want to lose a friend, if you want to lose a friend, go for it. But if you have friends that you don't want to lose, maybe you just need a little bit of time. I definitely got that before we started clarifying that. Maybe you just need some kind of time alone. Or maybe you need some time away from certain people. And again, that doesn't mean you totally cut them out, but sometimes I think we just need a break, and that's what that's what I'm getting here. With the Seven of Cups, you have the Two of Cups. Two of Cups is a perfect match to something. It can be a soulmate, of course, and there could be love coming in here. You have Page of Cups, Ace of Wands. And then, my problem is you go to the Seven of Swords and Six of Swords, which could say that you're moving on from a liar, cheater, stealer. So if someone is presenting themselves to you at this time, maybe you're in a little bit more of a negative headspace about relationships. I feel like if you want love, that this person could be different if it's love. For the rest of you, again, Two of Cups is just a perfect match to this idea that you have with that Ace of Wands. And finally, with that Knight of Wands, you have the Ten of Wands. I'm not going to lie. I feel there's work to be done. Here's my thing with the Ten of Wands coming up right now, is that we have Mars going retrograde at the end of the year, or in October, basically. And what I would say is that I feel that, things are going to feel like they take extra effort. And, but I feel like you need to know that it's worth it. It's going to be worth it to put in the work, and there will be a result. I'm going to pull an extra card for you. You have this Yin energy card. Again, withdrawn energy. I think I picked up on this in the beginning of the reading. Especially in the area of your closest relationships, and also a little bit more of a passive energy as well. Yeah, you have this go the distance card. See, I think it's going to be worth it. Maybe you're feeling like you're putting a lot of work into projects, businesses to develop this passion that we were talking about. But I feel this go the distance card is really saying that doing it is going to be worth it because there will be a solid result. A pretty interesting reading. Again, I would be a rebel. A rebel. You know, if you're thinking that you can't be passionate about something because there are certain rules or whatever that no one came up with, basically, I wouldn't be afraid to break those rules. Same thing in relationships as well. It's like maybe you have a relationship that's unconventional, but who cares? Maybe it works for you, right? And maybe everybody else is wrong. So I feel like that's what you need to realize here. Pretty simple. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Make sure to watch your sun, moon, and rising for a full picture of what's going on for you at this time. But thank you, and definitely enjoy your week.